everyone, and welcome to the debut episode of the Superfan Series. This is the podcast that brings you into the world of a superfan from around the NFL. I'm your host, Liz Bhandari, and in this episode I'm joined by Cincinnati Bengals fan Shawn Moore. Shawn is one of the most dedicated fans you'll meet. He travels from Tampa Bay to Cincinnati for every home game, and no matter what, he's always optimistic, he's always positive, and he always is uplifting. Shawn channels his positivity into supporting various charities through Tailgates and on his own. He uses the common thread of fandom to help raise money for good causes, to help families that are hurting, and to make fans who've travelled or may feel left out be included in what amounts to home game fun. In our interview, we talk about what it means to be a superfan and what makes his team so special. He's an all-round great guy, and I can't wait for you to hear his story. Enjoy the show! Welcome to the show, Shawn. Great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Why don't we start with you telling us, I guess, where your passion for American football came from?
So, I just enjoyed football as a youngster. It was something my dad watched and that kind of thing. You just, the big hits, the exciting plays, just, these massive men just going out there and, dancing like ballerinas to catch a ball or to make a cut. It's just a very intriguing game to watch because you never really know what's going to happen. So just kind of every game is the any given Sunday. You never know what it's going to be. So
absolutely, yeah. And what was it that made you select the team? I'm guessing that's because of where you're from, right?
Actually, of all things, when I first found out about the Bengals, I was living in Florida. We lived in Orlando, and I was watching a game, and the Bengals were playing the Dolphins, and I saw the stripes on the Bengals helmets. And I was like, I really like those helmets. The next year we moved to Ohio, and my dad was always a firm believer, and he rooted for the hometown team. So that meant I had to root for a team from Ohio. So it was either the Browns or the Bengals. And the Bengals had the really cool helmets. So at 6 years old, that's what made my decision.
I love that. Here in the UK, we kind of choose a team based on either where we want to go live or a team that we've watched live, or for me, certainly down to like the colour of the shirt. So actually, yeah, that's not so bad. That's a similar reason why you chose yours.
Exactly.
And what do you reckon is your first memory of your team?
I would say probably one of my first memories would have to be the early, late mid-'80s, playing the Bengals-Browns rivalry was big back then. You had Bernie Kosar and Boomer Esiason, and just watching those games and just knocking each other out. And then from there, you had the Super Bowl in '89, which was fantastic, except I hate Joe Montana and John Taylor. They're dead to me. Because without them, the Bengals would have the Super Bowl. So
yeah. So that hurts still.
Yes, still. It doesn't matter how many years. I mean, that was a long time ago. Let's just go with that.
And how much does the history of your team mean to you?
It means a lot. I mean, it's kind of, we've had not that great a history because, we're the losingest team of the 90s. That's quite the banner to hang up in the rafters. But just watching, some of the older players, the Bengals have finally started to bring them back in to honor them and to kind of call them out and see them, which was something that took forever to do, which, to watch other teams that really embrace their past, where the Bengals just kind of went, yeah. And so it's kind of, like I said, we don't have that many things to hang our hat on, but the ones we do, we stick with those.
And of all of the years that you've been a fan, is there a favorite moment for you?
Probably, I would have to say the year that I got inducted in the Hall of Fans in 2003 as the Ultimate Bengals fan. So I got a plaque that was up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They did a ceremony on the field. I get to walk out of the 50-yard line. Those kind of things. I mean, that as far as a personal memory, that's the one that sticks out the most. I had my whole family there, and it was just kind of a cool moment to get recognized by your team. Yeah. And then I say that I had my picture in the Hall of Fame. That's another one. That's
amazing. Not many people can say that.
Right.
And what does it mean for you to be recognized as a super fan for your team?
It's very cool to be recognized that way. It's one of those things that when I first started doing it, I've been doing the whole face paint thing for over 20 years. And I first started doing it as the way anybody does. Like, hey, I'll get on TV. I'll do this kind of stuff with it. And then I realized that it was a way I could use that image, my pseudo fame to do other things. I use it. I've done player charity events. I've used it to sell like items to raise money for different charities. And then you notice too with kids that come to games and they see this big guy in a big foam hat and face paint, and I'll stop and talk to him and take a picture. And I have trading cards that I'll hand out. And for them, that's as close as they'll get to meeting someone from the team or having it. So to give that experience, and like I've gotten emails after that that made my kid's day or that kind of thing. And I've watched kids that were 10 years old who are now married and having kids, and they bring their kids to come take pictures with me. And I'm like, to see that kind of thing is really, it makes me feel really old, but it's still really cool that, like, I remember you when I was a kid, and now they're like, I'm getting married and that kind of thing. So,
that's really lovely. A lot of people won't realize like how much goes into supporting people. And I was reading how obviously you travel to every home game and things like that, and you make, I guess, people are there. For example, it could be someone who's traveled from the UK to come watch a game. You will always make that kind of person feel so welcome and part of it all, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the highlights. Like I've gotten several visitors from the UK and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
we have a big Bengals following over there.
We do.
But just to that they make it a point of their trip that they want to find me to say hello or to take a picture, that kind of stuff. So for me to not be welcoming to them and it would be miserable. I mean, there's no sense of not doing that. It's something simple, and it gives, like I said, it gives that tie-in to the team and to the game for those fans that don't get to experience as much as I have or to do it as many times as I have.
Yeah. And I think as well, as having been a fan who has travelled to the States to watch a game before, it's so overwhelming when you first arrive to a tailgate because, well, first of all, there's so many cars. You don't know which are like just a family's tent versus like something that's like organized. So it's amazing to have someone like you who's kind of like willing to show people those kind of ropes and, help them get around. I think it's incredible.
Yeah. So like I said, we're one big family in the NFL. That's the way it is. Whenever I go out of town, to an away game, I have a group of fans there that I know that I can go to and just kind of just wrap your arms around you and just welcome you in. And that way you don't feel out of place. You don't feel unsafe. You're just there having a good time, because at the end of the day, if we all rooted for the same team, it'd be awfully boring.
Yeah, absolutely. And with you, like, how did you come to like decide on like your outfit? What is it you wear? Your nickname, like your superfan persona? How did that come around?
So the hat kind of came from just randomly. We were, my now wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, we were at SeaWorld in Aurora, Ohio. Believe it or not, there was a SeaWorld in Ohio. I don't understand that at all. But I bought this lime green foam cowboy hat. And we had tickets for the last game at Riverfront Stadium. And I'm like, you know what? I'm painting that hat. So I got a can of spray paint, orange and black, just threw some face paint on, had some feather boas. It was a whole thing. Went to the game, and they were like, I was named the Oscar Mayer hot dog of the game. That was the sponsor at the time. They took me down on the field, gave me a little prize swag bag, put me on the Jumbotron. I was like, this is kind of cool. And then from there, it just kind of has evolved. The hat is now painted by somebody that has much more talent than I have. On my fourth version of the hat. The jersey, I went through player jerseys, and finally I just went with a personalized one, and I have the number 54 on there, which is the only number that has been retired by the Bengals.
Wow. So
it's Bob Johnson, who was the first ever draft pick of the Bengals, was a center. I was also a center when I played football. So, and that was my number in high school, 50. So it just kind of all ties in. And then as far as the Houday Baby nickname, Houday is the cry of the Bengals. Yeah. But I would always add the baby at the end of it. And so I was like, hey, it's the Houday Baby guy. And then it just kind of rolled from there.
I love it. And this is a bit of a controversial question, but what would it take for you to not support your team?
I don't think I can't be bought. But if they ever, if the team ever moved, that kind of thing, it would be really hard. Like if the team itself moved and kept the Bengals name, I would probably still support it in some way, but I don't know that I would do as much as I do now. I wouldn't try. I maybe would go to 1 or 2 games, that kind of thing.
Yeah. How far does it take you to drive from Florida to
Well, I actually fly, which is it's a 2-hour flight, which is
That's
not
not
bad.
too bad.
If I were to drive, it's 18 hours.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay. Flight's definitely the way forward.
There's been a few times where it's, right after the game, I'm going to the airport to get on the plane, and I'm walking in and wiping off face paint in an airport bathroom, look like I murdered a clown, and then, get on the plane, I look like I got eyeliner everywhere. It's, it's either a bad drag show or a rocker, I don't know.
Amazing. And what's the first piece of memorabilia you've got of your team?
Probably the first thing I remember getting was this huge Bengals pillow that my aunt bought me when I was 8 years old. That I kept for years. That's I'd sit and lay on it, watch the games and that kind of thing. That's the first that and the little huddle, the huddle heroes. I don't remember those. You're probably too young for those, but those are probably the first little things I remember from getting merchandise wise. And then as far as actual memorabilia, just football cards. I mean, I was big into cards and that kind of thing. But
yeah, definitely. And when it comes to game day, what, if you have any kind of rituals you have, what's your typical day like?
So usually, I'll fly up on Saturday, and that just depends on whatever the cheapest flight is. I don't, I'm not there to get in any kind of hurry on a Saturday. I just want to get there. And then I wake up usually about 5:30 in the morning for a 1 o'clock game.
Wow.
Get up, take a shower, shave, because, nobody likes a stubbly clown, so I can't put face paint on over the stubble. Get that on. Always have to make sure that whatever I wore the week before, as far as, that goes under the outfit, it's the same. I've washed it. Don't get me wrong, because that would be bad. But that goes on, and then we do get everything ready. Usually end up at the tailgate. I have two that I kind of bebop around to. So the first one, their lot opens whenever they get there. So we usually hit that one about 8 o'clock, and then I go over to our main tailgate about 9. Tailgate until around 11:45, and then I jet out and go in and watch player warm-ups, do that kind of, watch all that. I used to have, Drake Kirkpatrick would come over before every game, give me a handshake, that kind of thing. Our old running back coach, Kyle Caskey, would come over. So I had to make sure that I was in for that, because I felt, it maybe it was just in my head that was a tradition for them as well, that if they didn't do that, then their game day was off. So maybe they just did it because I was the annoying guy in the big hat, but who knows? Game time, and then I won't leave the game until there's zeros on the clock, and if we win, then I high five everybody leaving the section, and then if we lose, I just stand there and look dejected and wait for everybody to leave.
Oh, yeah, that must hurt quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then say it's a game that you're not at, so you're watching this from home. How do you get ready for that? Do you have any particular food that you'll have ready for each game, or do you just go with whatever you're feeling at that moment?
As far as food-wise, I just go with whatever. I stick with the same thing, whatever is underneath the week before still goes underneath the jersey. That all stays the same. And then depending, sometimes we'll watch at home. Sometimes we'll meet up with friends, at a BW3s or that kind of thing. But
yeah,
so that's normal. And then after every touchdown, I always have to go live on Facebook and sing the Bengals fight song. And then if I don't do that, people get mad. I didn't do it one week because I was trying to change the flow because we were bad this year, and it worked and we won. So then I was back to singing the next week. So.
And my final question. So this is someone who's new to football, yet to choose their team. Why should they support yours?
Because we have never lost a tailgate in the history of Cincinnati football. Now, I think that, exactly. That's what it's all about.
What reason do you need?
Exactly. We have the coolest helmets in the NFL.
Agreed.
Number one. That's pretty much it. We're a team that's on the rise. Joe's going to be back healthy next year. There's so much young talent on this team. So if you get on board now, when we're kind of at our lowest, then nobody's going to claim you, say that you're a bandwagon fan and just look down upon you for jumping on when you do now. Because when we go to multiple Super Bowls, win 4 in a row, it's, knock the Steelers off the 6-ring pedestal. It's a whole thing. It's going to happen. If you don't believe me, just wait. It's happening.
I'm waiting. I'm ready for it. So there you have it, our first episode, short and sweet. Shawn was a blast to talk to, and you can just sense his passion. If I'm ever over in Cincinnati, or if the Bengals make their way back to the UK, I know who I want to be sat with at the game. I really hope you found the show both fun and insightful, and of course I'd love your feedback, so please feel free to reach out on social media at NFLGirlUK or to the show direct at Superfan Series. You'll find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Plus, you can subscribe to the podcast at superfanseries.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.